order to get to the valve body, you should have the rear internals and front internals removed, which were covered in the previous videos. We'll be working on the 2012 Spyder Victor. The following steps also work with the Aggressor, Xtra, and MR100. Your marker should look like this, with no front internals and with no rear internals. First, we'll be starting with removing the ASA from the trigger frame. What you'll want to do is grab your 3mm wrench to remove the bottom set screws. Once loosening the set screws, you want to go ahead and pull apart the ASA from the trigger frame. Once you have the ASA off the trigger frame, go ahead and remove the set screws and set those aside. Now what we'll want to do is remove the hose line from the hose fitting. With a 13mm wrench, go ahead and unscrew the hose from the fitting. Once you have that loose, you should be able to take it off by hand. Now that you have the hose line off, go ahead and set that aside. Now what we'll be wanting to do is remove the set screws for the trigger frame. You have one in front and one in the back. With a 3mm wrench, go ahead and unscrew the front screw, and then you want to unscrew the back screw. Now that you have the trigger frame apart from the body, what we want to do is remove the set screw for the valve body. With a 4mm wrench, go ahead and remove the set screw. Now with a stick squeegee or a battle swab, what you want to do is insert it into the bottom chamber of the marker and slide out the valve body to the front. Now if you're having a leak that's coming in between the trigger frame and the valve body, what you want to do is replace the front O-ring on the valve body. You can do so by squeezing the O-rings in between your fingertips and popping it off at the tip. Once you have removed it, go ahead and replace it with the Buna O-ring that comes in your spare parts kit. The one in your spare parts kit is actually be a black colored one. The reason why the valve body comes with the clear one is to help you determine the front end of the valve body and the back end of the valve body. The best way to identify the front and back of the valve body is to actually insert the valve pin and cup seal into the valve body. When you insert it into the front face of the valve body, the valve pin would actually slide all the way down and the cup seal would actually sit against a concave surface. If you were actually to install it into the back, you will notice when you insert the valve pin that the cup seal does not sit all the way down and it does not seal against any surface. So now that we determine the back and the front of the valve body, I'll show you how to determine the up and down portion of the valve body. The down portion will be the blind set screw hole. This one is for the actual set screw that we removed earlier that holds the valve body in place when it's inside the body. To drill that hole on the top is for the airflow to go through, so when the gun is fired, it actually fires the paintball out. So go ahead and insert that with the front face facing towards the front end of the barrel. Once inserting it, go ahead and push it down as far as you can with your fingertip. Then what you want to do is go ahead and bring in the battle swab squeegee and push in the valve till you line it up with the hole. Once you have it lined up, go ahead and grab your set screw and 4mm wrench to lock it in place. Go ahead and reassemble the marker. Now when tightening the set screws for the trigger frame, make sure that when you have them tightened that they're nice and snug, and once they're snug, give it a quarter turn after. Just reinstall the hose line onto the vertical fitting. Go ahead and tighten it onto the vertical fitting and reinstall the bottom line set screws for your ASA onto the trigger frame. Once you have the set screws tightened down and snug, go ahead and make sure to give it about a quarter turn after to make sure that they're there nice and tight. Now what you'll want to do is reinstall the front internals and then reinstall the rear internals.